I'd like to call this evening's financial services meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. First this evening, I'll need the approval of the agenda.
So moved, Peter.
Moved by Councillor Boyles, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have errors and admissions and corrections of minutes. We'll do these all together unless there's any errors of omissions that someone would like to put forward. Yes, Councillor Watson.
Just on the June 20th ones on page 5, the municipal services grant distribution. The date before registered on that one, the added some that's on
For the nay votes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Any other errors or omissions? Hearing none, we'll consider the 4 dates of those minutes and sets of minutes passed. Next, we have reports. First, we have the recreation report. I'll need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Warden Parker, seconded by Councillor Butler. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have the communications report for the month of June. Moved by Councillor Boyles. Seconded by Councillor Elliott. Any questions or comments concerning the communications report? Warden Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It mentions in there about the internet calls on wet days. I'm getting a lot of flack, I guess, about right now over the internet, taking so long, and so Deputy Warden myself met with DAO earlier this evening to see if we could get something done to hurry things up some, but I wanted to read this one email about attempted to visit with a gentleman this afternoon who'd been complaining, just up above me by about a mile. And he says, sorry I missed your visit this afternoon, as I am very interested in any updates with regard to how the project is progressing. I must admit that it is frustrating to go to the municipal webpage and nothing has been updated since the tower was installed at the municipal office. The information will truly be appreciated. So I'm just wondering, that's where people are going to find out when to come or what's happening or what's going on. So is there a reason why it's not updated, or is there nothing to update, or just wondering what answer do I give to this fellow or anybody else?
I don't really have anything to update, like, other than what we said at the ratepayers meetings, that we're expecting the towers to be online at the end of the summer, fiber 2020 and 2023. It's all on there now, so.
I guess I'd ask through to the CAO then, is there any further information we can give to people? Because I'm getting asked, I'm sure other councils getting asked, but when.
I did post
When's
today
that?
a photo of the second tower. That's what happened.
Is there any dates we can give people through their CAO again? That's what they're looking for, based on updated information on when am I going to get. Not really,
Post that.
yeah, but I mean, I think there's a void there that somehow we need to fill with something, so that people have a better level of satisfaction, I guess, to what we're doing. We know somewhat from hearing the reports in here, but all they know is that we're advertising on the radio, but they're not hearing any updates as to what's when they might get it.
So the latest that I have on I guess deployment is the first wireless customers to be operational within 2 weeks. So that's coming off of one of the towers, probably the tower here. And they are starting to work on other towers. They started on Hardwood Hill today. That's a co-location. Starting Green Hill weeks, and I believe it's Mount Tom, they're starting tomorrow. So the wireless is coming along, splicers are going to be finished this week on the first leg, so the 260 to 280 customers, that leg will be complete. So I would think once that's achieved, then we'll start the rollout on communications for that next phase of deployment in the Lionsbrook area. So that area is basically from this building out to what would be the Pleasant Heights subdivision.
Could we, Chair, through the CEO, could we give them some of that information? These towers are up, or going up, or, you know, so that the people have some idea of what the progress is and what the fiber progress is. So there's something there, and I think people are looking for an update. Say we're getting the update, that the general public is getting that update. I don't know, you know, how far the reach is from those towers and stuff, but at least if they know when each tower is be operational, or the best guess we got is when it's gonna be operational, that avoiding information is not good. Right?
Sure, I can share that information. It was just received 10 to 6 tonight, so that update, so I can share it. Distill as best we can.
I am hesitant because we have been giving that information all along, say in March, and then we get the calls and say, well, you said March. So I'm hesitant to do that, to get it, because we said June, then June is not here, and then we look at it because we didn't follow along with our projected goal of June, so then we look like we're lagging behind.
I agree with you. I feel the same frustration from the general public, but I think if we can at least tell them, maybe not to the date, but tell them what we've got done. So they can see that these towers are going out, or this is happening, or that's happening, without saying you're gonna have it by the 1st of September, the end of September.
Well, right now, well, that's new information.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
right now, all I do is the 2 towers per hour. It's structurally, they're not serviceable.
Yeah, I think people need to know where we're at, if we're having problems with whatever, then maybe they need to know that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Morton. Go ahead, Councillor Thompson.
Just on that, I was talking to a gentleman as a cottage camp in Western where I'm exceptional, where his comment was the ads on the radio are misleading, or I'm not sure if he used that word, but they're confusing because they direct you to the website and there's no update on the website when you punch your address in. Is that the case? I didn't even check that.
The line map's not updated, we hope it has been updated for now. It's supposed to be updated months ago, so that's what people are going to look to see where their internet service is, what dates provided, and it's not. So that's a flaw.
Okay, so, and just a comment, I'm not trying to
Yeah,
dictate how you do things, but would it make more sense to change the ad on the radio?
yeah, the ads were designed following the project schedule that we had earlier, and they were going to fall in perfectly, and then they haven't fallen in perfectly.
Yeah,
But yeah, definitely not.
that's probably a discussion that needs to be had.
Yeah.
That's his.
I just keep watching that if they're gonna fall in sync here shortly.
Yes, very good.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have accounts paid for the month of June. Go ahead, Councillor Parker.
I would move that we accept the defendant.
Okay, we have seconder.
Second.
Okay, Councillor Turner, thank you. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Watton.
Just one question. See their check 18885 and 18884 for District 2 for their service range funds. But I don't see one for the community center. Do you know if that's what's in our account? I couldn't find anyone in this report.
Can you repeat those check numbers, please, Councilor?
18,884, 18,885. Excuse me, here, we just go, you such check was listed inside on Thursday.
While we're waiting here, is there any other questions on the other check numbers?
What is the one you're asking about? I think you did this.
Community center, $17,000 to the community center.
Wants to come back, take care of it? Once again, if there's any other questions?
That was done.
He's getting there.
1883, Middle River Community Center.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay,
Checklist.
it's on the checklist.
Missed.
It jumps from 82 to 84.
Yeah, okay, 1883.
Okay. Seeing no other questions or comments, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. And finally, for reports, we have the deed transfer tax fund. And again, this is for information purposes only. See that for this month, for the month of June, that we are significantly up from last month. Okay, Councilor Parker.
It's comment that almost exactly where this time. He was like fire issue. Double what it is, back to that. Looks healthy.
Any other questions or comments? We'll move on. Next, we have funding requests, municipal service grants. First, we have District 4 municipal service grants. So these are the ones in yellow that we'll be speaking of this evening. There's $1,500 to Bellevue Extension and Extension Community Association. Salem Cemeteries, 1,500, Mountain Road Cemetery, 1,000, West Branch Community Hall, $2,021.18, and Tony River Community Hall, an amount of 3,000. Or we're doing the ones in green. Okay. So that would be the River John area recreation, 3,000. And the River John Action Society for 2,300. And the River John Legion Branch 108 for $2,000, which for this evening would be a total of $7,300. By Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Parker. Any questions or comments on those service grants? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 8. So these are all. Okay. So we have the Abercrombie Cemetery Company in the amount of $6,000. Repairs and maintenance. Abercrombie Community Center amount of $3,652 for repairs and maintenance. Abercrombie Volunteer Fire Department amount of $8,000 for down payment on fire truck. Elm Cemetery Trust, $2,535 for groundskeeping, and Mount Lane Cemetery, $2,850 for annual maintenance, for a total of $23,037. Okay, Councilor Turner?
Sure, just to point out that where it says counts for sign, Abercrombie Cemetery, no. Volunteer Fire Department, Cemetery Trust, no. I was simply an oversight on my behalf and they signed.
Thank you. Would you like to make that a motion?
I'll
Move that. Okay, moved by Councilor Turner, seconded by Councilor Parker. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, and last but not least, we have District 11. These are the green ones again. We have a Truthville Cemetery in the amount of $400 for cemetery maintenance, Garden of Eden Community Center, $2,000 for operating costs, Glencoe Hall Community Association, $950 operating costs, and SBI 4-H, amount of $950 for program costs, for a grand total this evening of $4,300. So, and these have all been signed, okay? Great.
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Councilor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Dewar. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we have correspondence from River John and Area Recreation concerning reduction in coordinated funding. As you know, earlier this year, budget time, we gave all the coordinators straight across the board the amount of $5,000 this year. We received communication from the River John Recreation and Development Society via Councillor Elliott. Correspondence from them concerning that cut in funding, which I'm sure you're all read in your package. I will open the floor up to discussion. Go ahead, Warden Parker.
Madam Chair, I can understand why the folks in the River John are upset. But sitting around this table that night, we had over $1 million in requests. And so there had to be a lot of cuts. Back in the year, just did not get anything. Including another one in River John, I think, for pickleball, and maybe others. But there were a lot of cuts, and we looked at this one, I know, and some of the other people were here that night to comment as they want, but in fairness, as much as it's difficult for the ones that were getting more to be cut back, we looked at it from a fairness point of view as well as a budget cut point of view. And it will be difficult, I think, for them to adapt to that. But we can decide later, another year, if we want to up everybody's or include more districts or do it more fair. We're still not doing it very fairly. We're only picking certain areas that are getting them. So perhaps it's a need, I think, for us as a council to look at this whole policy, of how we do these coordinators. But for this time, it was looked at the fairest way was to give everybody the same. And obviously, one that was quite a bit higher is going to have a harder job adapting, but I still think we made the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden Parker. Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
I just wanted to let you know that the whole letter's not there. The whole letter's not there.
It's just a portion of it.
But the
Okay. Thank you, Warden Murray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I certainly agree with the warden. As chairperson of that committee, I recommend that we don't send it back to the committee because we did what we could with the budget that we had. And about over $100 and we did overstep our balance going forward. would suggest that we send it back.
Thank you, Deputy Clerk. Go ahead, Councillor Boyles.
Yeah, again, this is, this is all going on with stuff with this. I wonder why we turn around and give to other places that's not in the municipality, like other towns or to help out with their activities, and then cut our own back. That just don't make sense to me, and you know, I think that's who should be coming first is the people and the tax dollars being paid by and so then, you know, the money should be, if we get money left over after we do it all our own, yeah, but if we don't, well, we have to the ones that's not in the municipality.
Thank you, Councillor Boyles. Councillor Elliott.
I'm not sure where part of that letter is, but it was longer than what's on there. But I'm taking numerous phone calls and lots of heat from the CAC without any notice. So in order to address it, can a letter be sent out as a council or the whole council deciding that this is the right thing to do? Because right now, Mary Elliott cut the recreation funding, and that is not so. And I need some back.
Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That committee, I'm also on. We are asked to make some pretty tough decisions. And it's never pleasant to have to cut somebody back. And we made a mistake, we probably did. It was in doing it without longer notice. Plans they already made in the winter, short change. Spring and summer. That's never good. But I do concur with everyone's suggestion that not go back. Reconsideration, because once we open that can, set that precedent. Anymore. It's please. Also, I do support Mary's suggestion. We actually sent a letter explaining why. I think it was Deputy Clerk Murray suggested at another meeting earlier that this is something we need to have discussion about. Compare expansion barriers, more areas, more districts to add more summer activity. We don't want to discourage. And we do want to be prepared. Let's be honest. River John area was getting far more money. East River, this one. So the rationale for why we did it is sound. The way we did it, but not notice, could have been improved. We can't go back and change that. But we should be thinking if we're going to make significant changes. We should, just as the province is required to give us 12 months notice, we should expect, try to give notice would be significantly changing policies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Parker. Worker Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a specific question I want to ask there, but I'm going to go back to Mary's request first. I agree that she's taking heat for it. This is in her area. And it wasn't her decision, the decision of 6 of us that were on that committee, and then ratified by this council. But we need to send a letter, I think, in return to this letter, explaining, you know, pickle. I use that word, pickleball, that we were in, of having to deal with twice as many requests as what we had. And I don't disagree with the idea of giving longer notice, but it's kind of hard to do when you don't know how many requests you're having coming in until they all arrive. And then you're left with trying to, you know, be as fair as you can. So it's kind of hard to say a year before that if we're going to be cutting you next year. I don't know how practical that is, but you just say, well, we can't cut them without a year notice. I know you can do that, but then you're cutting somebody else, you know, to make up for that cut. But there is no easy way to make these cuts. And just in response to Councillor Boyles, I know And I differ on this, in terms of, you know, helping other areas. Sometimes those areas are also the recreation for a lot of our rural people. I was at an announcement today, money went to the Hector Inn. You know, who, out there, and a lot of, rural people, use that in this area, use that facility, and yet it's not within our bounds, so we never give them any money. I'm not too sure what this about or not. And Trenton Park is another one I was at recently. Same situation, a lot of rural people are using that facility, even though it's in one of the towns. So if you do a hard line that we're only supporting things that are in the rural area, I think that might hurt a lot of people too. So, I wanted to ask about the second last line on the piece of the letter that we did receive, that I received. It said maintenance of Bissell Park. The option to see the property returned to MOCC for ongoing care. I guess I don't know the history behind that line, and I'm not sure where Bissell Park is, so I get an idea, but did MOPC, our municipality, look after that at one time? Or? This maintenance of Bissell Park, the option to see the property returned to MOPC for ongoing care.
It's leased from the
Leased from the municipality?
Yeah, it's owned by us. It is leased to a John area recreation group. But they
They made it into a park.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just didn't understand, I didn't know the history of it, so, return means that are we still leasing it to them?
we are, so the original lease was set in 90. It's basically, I think it's 2025 when it comes back up. Or
2020.
is when the lease would expire, but it's got an automatic renewal in it as long as they want to continue to renew it. It just rolls over, so we're in the second 15-year term of the lease.
So it would be a question if it returned to MLCC, would it be maintained as park? Wasn't any money there to maintain it, because, but, anyway, I just didn't understand that line, but as much as I do want to take some of the pressure off of Mary by us writing a letter explaining who made the decision, how it was made, it wasn't her decision alone. You know, she was part of council, it doesn't know.
Okay, we have a second for that motion? Okay, second by Deputy Warden Murray. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Boyles.
Yeah, I just have to repeat, I don't know more than me see opposite sides of this, but, you know, we got people in the municipality, the county of Hector who pay their taxes, and they want things to go on in their communities, and for us to turn around and refuse people from the municipality, because we can't afford it, but yet you read the report and see we give to the Lobster Garden, we give to the Trip Hector group, we give to the Hector Arena, we give to, you know, Glasgow Wheels Express, we go on and on and on, giving to all these people, and then yet come on our own, and all of a sudden we just don't have the money. To me, it just don't make sense.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Boyles. Any questions or comments? Let you have the last say, Councillor Elliott.
I just wanted to add in what's missing out of that, so that everybody gets the full letter.
Yes, so I will say the letter was double-sided, and when it was scanned, the other side didn't get taken up, so there is an extra side of
So it stops right where it says assist with community events, and then the letter picks up, it says the above are only examples for current activities and roles held by the position. We understand there are many groups which apply for funding, however, we are seeing success and meaningful impact in our community, and many of these successes rely on this role, and they have for the last 16 years. Similar to all communities and jobs, we understand decisions must evolve. As you know, River John Area Recreation has taken over the 2022 grant request, and this decision was made in consultation with community partners in 2021. The reality is, if the municipality is unable to continue to reasonably support an endeavor they followed for 16 years, there will be impacts to the community. For example, this is not an exhaustive list, but only highlights the ramifications and consequences of the role were to dissolve due to the reduced funding, and then it picks up supporting registration for the letter. Started on the next page, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Sending a letter to the River John and Mary Recreation explaining why the decision was made and why. Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Emergency Services Department vehicle tender. So as you're aware, we received this in our package that we have two tenders. The first is there was a tender put out on June 13th, issued for two vehicles. So the first is from Highland Ford. So vehicle one is a Ford Escape all-wheel drive hybrid, amount of $38,000, and vehicle two is a Ford Edge all-wheel drive in the amount of $45,000, which is a total of $83,000. So a total with HST $95,540. The second submission was from Atlantic Dodge. Vehicle one was a Jeep Compass all-wheel drive, in the amount of $46,147.40. And vehicle two was a Jeep Grand Cherokee all-wheel drive, in the amount of $59,337.40 for a total of $105,337.80 cents. Total with HST is $121,230.72. It was recommended by Evan Hale, Director of Emergency Services here at MOPC, that the award be given to Highland Ford Sales Limited, as they are the low bidder and provided a hybrid option which aligns with municipalities' municipal vehicle policy. Councilor Parker.
Question for Mr. Hale. What is the availability of these vehicles?
So the Highland Ford, I believe, could happen within a few weeks, from what I was told. Few weeks, 2 weeks or something. They're in the province. Atlantic Dodge couldn't give me a definitive timeline.
Yep.
Warren Parker.
Understanding clearly, I know Hale's are moving part, they're going to, you can't drive 2 weeks. But who's the other report?
Go ahead and answer that.
So one of them obviously would be for me. The other vehicle, it was kind of the idea of the fire inspector, the future fire inspector, perhaps driving that vehicle, or other people within the municipality. I don't think the details are fully nailed down on that just yet. The idea, I believe, was for the incoming fire inspector.
Okay, just trying to better idea where 2 vehicles, we don't know who's going to be driving one of them yet, but I guess if we're just through you, Madam Chair, ask the question of the CAO, are we sometime in the near future hire that our own fire inspector?
Correct. So we have budgeted for it to be starting 6 months in. So that's roughly October was the plan to bring that person on. So
That's what the other vehicle.
that's where the other vehicle didn't come from, with that, or if it needed to be deployed somewhere else first, we could do that. But the plan, the original plan was to move it to the fire inspector.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Dewar.
When we get two of them, instead of getting each and the other, we get two of the same. Why is the difference in money there, couldn't be the difference? And we always said that trucks, so I know trucks in, trucks in. Still cheaper than those, don't we got about 3 vehicles?
Yeah, so the idea behind getting 2 of the hybrids would certainly be an option to explore. The idea behind the trucks, I thought 2 trucks for myself and fire inspector would be a little bit overkill in terms of maintenance and fuel economy. You don't really need to be hauling the cargo around. I thought maybe it wouldn't be as economical to have 2 trucks.
The price of the trucks that we just got for public works were 45. 46, yeah, so trucks are not right now any cheaper than. Yeah, and in many cases in the maintenance, the economy, it's a lot higher.
Availability is why there's two different prices. Why, instead of two Ford Escapes here, the 38,000. It's because of availability. They bid on what they was available.
Okay, thank you. Council One.
Thank you. It sounds like Evan's idea to explore getting two hybrids over Ford Edge. I'm gonna have the idea of putting get the two hybrids, and it's gonna be a delay waiting for it's the final step to be higher, so that would give us room there. I think that's possible, I'm not sure. And just one question to the approved budget, and this is 75,000, so if we're going to 95, where are we getting 20,000?
We would, in all likelihood, look to either fund it through a reserve or look for other savings in budget and find other areas.
So that makes sense to try and support a second hybrid.
Yes, the idea of the Ford Edge, I think was sort of a by people, and there was sort of an argument made for bulk purchasing in the future with departments. There may be some stuff taken here to the municipal building. That vehicle would be capable of taking that stuff out to these departments and we get larger loads. Whereas the Ford Escape was kind of a smaller vehicle. Good for a fire inspector because it doesn't need to carry that any load around with that individual. So certainly could look into getting two hybrids, but that was kind of the rationale behind one larger ones.
Thank you very much. Deputy Warden Murray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question, Debbie was saying that to really meet that second vehicle right now, we put that off until next year's budget. It's not possible. We have that one funded. Fire inspector would be on the blood driver now.
We did have that discussion briefly last week that could be an option. Because by the time we get the person hired, we're into October. A lot of what they'll do probably the first few months is setting up the program as opposed to being on the road. They will be doing some because there's some that come in that require some level of activity, liquor licenses, things like that. Occupancy loans, things like that. So that could be an option. And if the person does require travel, then we just use it as an operating expense and mileage, right? So that could be an option as well.
And Chair, that would.
Warden Park.
It's a good suggestion coming out here, hear that. I do. I agree the way I guess on, I like the idea of getting two hybrids. Like we said, the climate change committee will make every effort to, we get hybrid vehicles and eventually electric vehicles, but they're not available yet, or not at a price that we can absorb. In terms of, and I know where Mr. Hale's coming from, in terms of purchasing, we also have a number of trucks here with municipality that use when needed to do that. So I'd be in favor of getting the two hybrids, whether we get them both this year or next year. Next year, it's not going to be a whole lot better, but it would put us closer to being within budget and Did we get, some for HST or how much of that back out of that,
We only paid 4.3. And we got two on the 83,000.
38?
And we got two on the 80, at the 80, on the 83,000, the net cost would be 86,500.
Yeah, because of the lower on that, but if we got two hybrids, it would be lower than that. Is it 38 each? Instead of a hybrid and an eight, I guess, but anyway, that, I could, go along with the deputy board and suggest maybe next year, or they could just easily, in order to have a vehicle, put this one higher, go with two with the 38s and, wait for the other one, if it's not available. You don't have to run, wait.
Thank you very much, Warden. Counselor Boyles.
Well, you know my feeling for it, so. I would provide for it. Here around in the, I was told by Ford, handed in by the dealer that all Fords smoke, so, and again, climate change, we're trying to do away with smoking, so, in the air, so, I from experience, I think they're junk, so I wouldn't be supporting it anyway, thank you.
Counselor Elliott.
I was just wondering if the vote that was received was based on buying those vehicles, and that's why you got the cost that you did. And we don't know where we're going with COVID. So if we're going to order something, we may as well order something that's suited to what's needed. Because if COVID starts again, we're not going to be sharing our vehicles back and forth. I think it's, pardon?
Those aren't ordered.
No, but if we're going to divide it up, is it going to get the same pricing? If we're going to order one, that was my question. And my other question is it good to go to that, to where we're going to be sharing or waiting for vehicles because we don't know where we are with COVID in the future? Are we going to end up where everybody's going to be back in their own vehicles and in their own particular personal space? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so those two vehicles were ones that they could procure pretty quickly. And I believe we got the pricing we did based on purchasing those two vehicles at the same time. I would have to confirm that. I don't know that for certain. But it was my understanding that because we were buying two of them, that was kind of the base price that they gave. And I think that's why they're sort of even figures, so to speak. They don't have any change by them.
So if we save the dollar by ordering one, then down the road, we're going to lose the dollar by ordering another one at a later date. So that's something I think we should consider.
We would have to confirm that we could get that price by only ordering one. We don't know that we can get that price if we only take one. This is the tender that they submitted for those two vehicles. We don't know that we can get that price by taking only one of those vehicles.
If I may as well, we had a vehicle tender a couple of months ago through my department. And the winning bid is only able to supply two of those vehicles. So availability is a significant factor to consider as well. That bears any consideration by council. If that suggestion. Availability is a real factor.
Okay, any final questions or comments? So what is your pleasure, councilors? What would we like to do this evening?
I move we accept the bid as percent.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Wyman.
Just don't be supporting it because I think we should be looking at hybrids. Okay. I think that's the way to go at this stage. Okay.
Go ahead, Warden Parker.
I will be supporting the motion. I would like to bid both hybrids, but I think we're, we not say that a lot. I think the climate change committee will probably accept the fact that we tried. This is what we did. I will be.
Deputy Warden Murray.
Yeah, I can't support it without us not going and see if there wasn't an available hybrid for the same price. We have to do a little more checking out, I think, before we pass on that, all that money. I won't support this motion.
Okay. All right, seeing no other comments or questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay? Nays, put your hands up, please. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay, motion's been defeated. Deputy Warden Murray.
So I so moved that we, had to check with Ford and see if the second fiber is available. And it's not, how much that price still stands, 38,000. And back to the spec, presumably if it's staying, if they can do it at 38 or whatever it is, it's going to see.
You have 2 weeks because it's simply from here, it's a recommendation to council.
Okay, so we get that information.
So we'll look back up at this at next council. Go ahead. Councilor Thompson, did you have something to say? Sorry. So is your motion waived? Do you have a seconder? You seconded? Okay, thank you, Councilor Watt. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carries. Okay, next we'll move on to emergencies resolutions and unanimous consent required. Okay, hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
The Property Service Committee meeting to order. First, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're in Pickloggy, the ancestral and unceded territory of Pickloggy. Before I have the approval agenda, we're adding that 12D, the board's report. Let's pass that please tonight. By motion for approval of the agenda. So moved by Councillor Thompson.
Seconded.
Second by Councillor McKeel. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Comment nay. Motion carries. Next is errors and omissions, corrections to the minutes of June 20th. 2022. Errors and omissions. Errors and omissions. One more time. The errors and omissions. Hearing none. One. Next is the reports. First one is the building inspector's report. Councillor Walls. Seconded. Second. Councillor Dave Parker. Questions? Seeing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Kind of a name. Motion carried. Next is the bylaw dog control report. By Councillor Water. Second by Councillor Walls. Questions? Parker. Trying to find it. From here it is. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two in my area, one is a 2022 complaints, 59 McLean Road in Salem. Or I guess on April 28th. So it says to be viewed by bylaw officer, public works person. So my question on that is, has that one been viewed yet?
Thank you, Warden. Yes, the property has been viewed. Commentary that I received from our law enforcement officer is that the property is similar to some other properties that we have had on the list recently with an established vehicle-related business, no zoning, cars on the road. But the difference here being that this is a provincial road. So we're reviewing it under that perspective.
Yes, there's been no decision made right now if it's dangerous and unsightly or unsightly either way.
That's correct.
Okay, I know that one, it is very similar to some others, but I see another one here, 824 Salem Road. Again, the same thing, it was May 18th, but to be viewed
So has it been viewed or?
Yes, they've each reviewed and through a similar lens as well to each other.
Okay.
And both have issues, and we would look first to resolve the issue with the property owners themselves prior to providing a formal directive, but we are meeting with them directly about enforcement last week, and we'll be looking to provide some direction as well in terms of.
And the comment I'd like to make, Mr. Chair, is that this is becoming more common in the county. I've dealt with one for 2 or 3 years now, in Sylvester. These two are quite similar, and that people simply start piling old cars and trucks in the field until they get 50 or 60 or 70 of them. And then they get the neighbors upset because of the amount of junk that's around. Those that have them call it the recycling business. Those who have them in their backyard, through the window, have them, we call them the same thing. But I think it's an area that we may have to look at here as a county and decide how we're gonna handle these, because there are some, one was referred to me as you're coming up the, what's the current Trans Canada, yeah, still part of that, as you're coming up from the East Bay High School, I think, on the right-hand side, the actual cars, parked at White Oak and River Bridge. And so people will say, well, how come, what's your policy? How come it's okay for there, where you're gonna ton of cars go by, see them all the time? I think some of it has to do with the neighbors, who has to put up with their backyard, but I think it's something we're gonna have a good look at as a county, come up with policy and how to handle it. The parks environment doesn't seem interested. These things are leaking oil and gas over the load, and they don't, they told us, I think, the one that's invested, they weren't interested unless it was at least from the acreage. Had to be a certain size before they're interested. I don't know if our works, Mr. McDowell has any comment on it or not, but it seems that those two in my area are very similar to another one I've already done.
Yes, thank you, and I really appreciate your comment. A number of us here have been working on a couple of these files, and there's a bit of a precedent setting that we're doing right now. I think we can look at what we've done recently and some of the solutions that we've had as lessons learned that we can take on forward. I do think that there's potentially be value in putting some of this into policy. And I think a fair bit of it will make it into policy, whether we like it or not, in the land use plan. However, in the meantime, the next, again, 2 to 3 years, I think what we may end up hearing from residents is that because of how we handle certain situations, they will expect to see they will have situations handled in a similar way. But at least now we have, I do believe that we have a number of lessons persons. And there is a difference, just to your comment as well, with regards to the environmental. The Department of Environment does have, they give us direction that they really won't get involved in environmental spills and releases unless they exceed a certain discharge. And even in that case, it then becomes up to the municipality, and municipality would handle those cleanups, planning, execution of those, just as the provincial departments of transportation handles those provincial roads. So that's something to keep in mind. Really, we don't have a lot of municipality roads currently. So we're going to have specific need to consider as we get in.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I just want to ask a couple questions about 43 High Street in Plymouth Park. I'm just going across the sheet here. Complaint came in on May 9th. Initial site visit May 18th, and it was found to be unsightly. It's also dangerous because there's no fencing around the place, and there's kids everywhere in that park, and it's full of lots of junk. So the initial notice went out to the owner, says yes there, days to apply 30. So that must have been shortly after May 18th, I would assume. And then he said he asked for an extension It's a 30-day extension. It says comply, and it says yes. What's that mean?
I think this is a situation where they have done something, and I acknowledge the fact that this is your neighborhood as well.
Yeah.
I visited the site, we found some improvement. I think one of them was sort of kind of self-serving. So I guess we, typically, and I haven't made some suggestions and things like that as well. We typically approach these types of situations sort of an improvements-based approach. If we see some improvements going on, then we will work with people to try to continue to encourage them to continue that process. The commentary that I have from is that she believes that it's possibly one or two more truckloads of material that should be taken off the property to bring it up to the decent state here for the community. I can see that it's a type of community.
So it's very tight technology on this property. There's not a fence around anything there. I guess he has a cage there, but he has some junk in. My concern is this is the second time we went through this process on this property. And we get to this point and there's some improvement now. I can't walk up there without somebody saying something to me. It awkward up the neighborhood, and they look at me like I'm anything. That's why it's issue open for John. I'm very concerned that this is going to drop off the list again, and it needs to be cleaned up. What's happening at this property is people are going to his property with junk instead of going to the landfill because they think they're saving money. So there's oil tanks, there's old lawnmowers, there's car parts, there's he collects metal is what he's looking for, washing machines, dryers. And I'm literally, his neighbor is about 10 feet, the line is less than 10 feet between his house and the neighbor's house. It impacts, I have to say this, it impacts the whole neighborhood because everybody else keeps their properties in a reasonable state. And 3 properties around that property have tried to sell their house. And they've had people come, potential buyers come by. They don't even think they have an appointment with a real estate agent, but the night before they do a drive-through through the area, and they drive, and they don't even stop. They look, they say, I'm not buying that house because that one, that's a pigsty. And they just can't get over the fact that somebody can have a junkyard in a residential area like that. So I guess if my point wasn't made, this has to be cleaned up. He can't be allowed to do this stuff here. It's dangerous. It's unsightly. There's 25 kids in this neighborhood and they're all on the street. Somebody's going to get hurt here. And there's concern over contamination because he collects old furnace oil tanks and everything. God knows what else is in there. Please don't drop the Southwest because it needs to get fixed. It's been going on for 10, 15 years, and the guy's a swell guy, but nobody, it's not somebody who would have his name. So, and people, it's impacting people's value of their investment, their main investment is their home. And if they have to take a reduced price because their neighbor has an awful mess, there's something wrong with the process. I go into Plymouth Park, any of you, just go over there and drive by. Councillor Dorr knows what I'm talking about. It's an embarrassment. So don't drop this off the list until it's cleaned up. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I really do appreciate your comments, and I'm sure you drop it. Sufficiently addressed. It has not been sufficiently addressed. Yeah. we don't. We can't set it. So we are continuing. The homeowner, we understand that these types of issues affect residential areas and communities. So, and I think there's always room for the process as well. So.
Okay, so everybody else? What?
16.9.
Yeah, so I do have an update. We have provided it's communication or notice to the resident that we are going to be requiring to be cleaned up. If it is not cleaned up by, say, first of the fall, we will advance that further on. But we open for them to complete the cleanup in every other.
The person following us, Kevin.
Yes, yeah. We're hoping that it's completed prior to. We provided. We believe as much information and possibly to allow this person to do it themselves, which is sort of the nature of our direction that we provide for these types of issues. We don't, send our own team in. We don't hire a team in initially on our own, but we do work with them and try to get them to clean it up. So we are hoping that they do that, and if not, it comes September, we would have to take that step. So we do have every open belief that this person's will do that.
Guys, it's cleaned up. Kevin said that was the residents down on another side, they got with. Look at that place, and it's unfortunate, it's causing them stress. Have they, people who complain, have they been notified this is going to happen? Or they never go back to them, still on the books and everything.
Well, we haven't notified them. I would be happy to do that notification on behalf of staff as well, if it'd be your pleasure. I guess I would say that it was never our intention for it to be left until September. We still certainly hope and we fully expect that we can for that. But it's acknowledging your point that we haven't provided that. We haven't said that it's not cleaned up at the end of July, we'll clean it up. So you're correct that at this point, we haven't hired a contractor to come in and clean it up and tag and charge the account back for that.
Okay, so are you going to let him go until at least September, or will, in order to clean up, be done before that?
That was the intention, to allow it to go to September.
Or is that, and then I think you said, you have the county between that, so.
Yes, that was the intention, and I apologize that doesn't. Doesn't meet your expectation, or I don't mean that any kind of bad way, or it doesn't meet the residents' expectations. So that was.
I think I'll go back to them and have talk with them, because I know they are upset. How long this is dragging on 2 years now, so it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alder.
Thank you. Everybody for the clarification on this, please.
Anybody else? Seeing none? Motion, all those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Count nay. Motion carried. Next is the development officer's report, Jeremy Lewis. It's just outlining what he has been up to and do with us, and he's taken over Jeff Turnbull, so have our own development officers. Questions? What's about?
Yes, Mr. Chair. My question is in regards to, I guess we have a feeling of what his priorities are. I'm wondering about the development of the land use policy. Where's that in his resume or his foreseeable future jobs?
There.
Sorry, yeah, thank you, Councilor Butler. The development of the land use plan standards is something that that he and I will actually participate in, but it is, he and I have been working on the preparation of the scope and the documents, which we pretty good handle on. We are working with the candidate this summer to start that process. It'll be their starting point for the process, good. But the development of land use planning involves within both his scope and my scope. So he will be an integral part of that process, which was part of his job description as well. You know, we work together with whoever our future consultants of in the development. Yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does answer my question, and I'm thinking about development in my district. Some Tucson standards seem to be sliding under the radar. And the need for development of policy so we can address any future development.
Yeah, and if I may speak to that and sort of more generally with regards to Mr. Lewis's work thus far and our work as a department thus far. We've already found ways to improve the development process and work within our existing set of bylaws and policies to put additional onus on the developers to encourage good development and in fact require certain standards to be met. Working with our partners, environment and environmental application. In our, whether it's subdivision applications or in reviews of wind development that keep coming. So we are finding basically the interpretations of the bylaws and policies, our pre-existing bylaws and policies that are interpretable, which we've been vetting through our legal counsel as well, to confirm that the standards that we're applying within the scope of our existing policies that may not have been interpreted as such previously. So everything that we're doing is still within all our policies, but we believe that the way that we've been executing this has been good and pushing good development. And we're in fact just rolling through subdivision applications, things like that, much more quickly to get. So personally, I think we're down with the process that we're for. I think we'll see different things go through it. I think that's evident in our report. Although we don't have the fiscal years compared to previous years, they were the big officials and things like that.
Yeah, just to Logan's point there, the traditional year in subdivisions typically between 60 to 70. So as of the end of June, we're at 67. Last year we were at 130. So the last 2 years, certainly seeing a lot more activity in this area, which is good. It's just another indicator of building inspection reports. It's growth, new lots being created for different purposes. So it is a key indicator. So just where this is the first report you're seeing, and that's just kind of provide you a little bit of context there. We're at 67, I believe it was here, which prior year 2020, that would have been your year.
Thank you, Brian. And we're seeing significant developments and I believe Monte Pass with some additional significant developments coming in as well. And with the acquisition or with the addition of this role to this position, we also have the opportunity to improve existing standards that we have, whether it's needs or approvals or things like that. And so what we're finding is that and Mr. Turnbull did an excellent job to this round of Glasgow, but having them be here 5 days a week is a very good move to our development and policy review process. Just overall execution of the program. Again, just I do really happy with it.
So what?
Just from the forms itself, like addressing Brian, I'm just trying to read the form and just not understanding it. When they talk about consolidation and division, what does that mean?
Consolidations and subdivisions are all handled through the overall subdivision process. So a consolidation is when you would take on that, would be two different, that's a good time. So, but under the, under the standard process, everything related to consolidated or subdivided properties is all subdivisions. That's why we say certain areas are being consolidated. Even though it's still a subdivision process, it might be two properties versus your plan. And there are different benefits we would have for depending on the project that you're doing. You know, in term, it could be as simple as trying to meet your requirements for Nova Scotia environment for say setbacks from the ocean or different things like that, or it could just be because you want to develop.
And then just when you're talking about the water type and sewer type, I'm just looking at this too. Top line is like, it's not there, for everything's water type, for example, and there's this utility is 817. One of them's under existing water, and the other 800 for all as well. Those 8 that are sitting there in the top row, what does that signify?
Where is this in sort of which state?
Just on the summary table at the very first page. And water type. And if I was super sewer type, right to the board, I'm just trying to understand what that means.
It's a case that they're not indicating what they're doing.
Just kind of minimum amounts.
Yeah, if there is an identification, there is an identification that it's an on-site system.
Oh,
Sewer type thing, so it just gets.
Yeah.
It's the non-answer type thing.
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, so I mean, that would just be a definition of whether somebody has a pre-existing lateral, municipal water.
I was just wondering what that top box is, so nothing there, and you know what it meant.
I'll look into that, I'm not sure whether it shows up like the.
I guess maybe Brian kind of explained to me, nothing really identified for them, and that's fine, I just want to make sure that's what it was. That's good, thank you.
Anybody else? No motion? No.
I'll move it.
Let Councilman Taylor, let Councilor David Carter. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Count nay, motion carries. Next is the warrants report, which is handed out this evening. The Councilor Dorr, seconded by Councilor McKeel, Councilor Elliott. Question? See any questions from the other councilors? The board wants to question themselves, so you'll let it go. Okay. First, I want to apologize for being late at the 5 hours. That's definitely slipped by, I guess, but we thought we got it there to you before session today about that. I do want to say I'm attending more things as warden because we can have graduation, have AGMs and that type of stuff, so there's more going on that way, and reached graduation at the NSTC and at the Wellness Center and Northumberland High in Alma. Yeah, it was great to see the students again, I guess, to just be able to be together and celebrate and stuff. And I also want to mention that I was at announcements today, and Councilor Thompson was there, Councilor Rose was there, there was others there not. Anyway, by the minister, COA minister, Ishtar, Edipa, there. Not there, yeah. Anyway, with our MP John Fraser, and so a lot of the announcements were ones that had been made before, but it was important to have the COA minister here in town, in Glasgow, and making the announcement, because they're all things that help our rural communities a lot. The recreational field up in Springville, in addition to the hall on the hillside, and I know I can't remember his name now, the gentleman from the rink in Pictou was there on behalf of the Hector Arena, accepting the money for there. So it was a good day. Even though a lot of the money was announced before, it's important infrastructure money. Particularly fire department, yes, that's that much. So there was money available for our county for sure, as well as other areas in the district. And I just wanted to mention that there will be an announcement very shortly to do with the cost pick the library. Just on the page of being there, but it wasn't in today's announcements because of the different
type of event that will involve the province as well as the bids. But I think we're getting very, very close on that one. And, the only other thing I wanted to mention, Mr. Chair, is that Rick, Nova Scotia, we attempted to have, Deborah Cyril from our landfill operations, either tonight or on our, council meeting, her survivors, but I think, she's not available, Brian, is it till maybe a week, a month from now?
She's actually not available until September.
Oh, I think so that's.
She did get back to me
Okay.
through the other day then, so.
Okay, so we will, be having her coming in and speaking to us as a council about those two, issues that are gonna be big. Well, the EPR is gonna be big in this county. It's gonna, there are gonna be some changes. Get used to garbage and recycling and everything gets picked up at certain dates and certain times. They're not major changes. They're trying very much to keep them as similar as they can. So there's that one, and the littering, which we talked about around here, there's been a lot of work being done to eventually from that bird. So, she's trying to bring us, or do a presentation on both of those and see if we can make some advances. So that's, it for tonight, Mr. Chair. Okay.
Yes, I have a question for the board in regards to the annual meeting of rents. I know that you're now a representative, but you probably were there as the mayor. As a word matter. Can you comment on current trends? Can you see that things are changing, things are improving, things are happening?
A little hard to say right yet because I only attended the AGM, but the deputy warden was there before. We still have a ways to go. I think we have to get back to, I think, what the original intent was when we set up the rent. Which was both to retain the businesses that we have and expand and get new businesses to come. And under the former CEO, I guess it is, she did a very good job, but her emphasis was mostly on, bringing in immigrants for employment and whatnot, which all of a sudden we flipped from an economy that had too many workers to not enough workers. So that's where the concentration was that. Because a lot of businesses are held up right now, they can't expand and they can't grow because they can't get enough employees. So that was the concentration certainly with the former CEO. I think that it's tipped some now toward trying to work with the businesses really closely that we have, to lose them and allow them to expand. And so David Hatchie and the other. So West moved on to Ignite, but then somebody else took West Surratt's place, and so those two are visiting with all the businesses in the county. And how do we help you? What are your challenges? What are your problems? So it's a very direct connection now that perhaps wasn't there before, because you don't know sometimes what the problems are, and suddenly business closes down. And maybe we could help them, some maybe we couldn't. But also to help new businesses grow, whether it be entrepreneurs from within the county or companies moving in. Everybody wants the big fish, of course, there's not too many big fish left in the pond, but I think, I'm sort of hoping that with the new leadership that we do turn more to trying to grow our businesses. But the work that was done by Sarah before, if that work wasn't done and continued to work, the holdup is going to be employees. That's a big holdup for any business right now, so we have to watch that side as well as trying to help people grow. In fact, I won't name the business, but I had a request from one business that, wanting, where do I get some help? I want to grow my business, I want to double or triple size the business, but I need some help from you folks to get enough employees to do this. And so I turned them to the RAN, that this is the reason why these people are there, is to help people like yourselves to get going. So I still think we're going in the right direction. We renewed the 5-year for another 5 years. All municipalities have done that so that, they have some stability in front of them. They have changed their name. It's now the Pickett County Partnership, rather than Pickett County RAN. The RAN just didn't say anything to anybody. What's a RAN? I never heard of a RAN before. Heard of a hand, but not a RAN. So partnership is something that you've heard of Halifax Partnership, Cape Breton Partnership and stuff, so it's similar to what some other areas have. And visibility is another thing I've been encouraging, they need to be more visible. They're in the old Sellers Building downtown Tabasco, and nobody even knows they're there, for the most part, right here where Kids First is, but you know, they need to have more visibility, I think, in the county. So I think there's still a lot of hope there, and we need that, we need to develop business, county, retain those businesses. And we need to work with other municipalities to do that, so I'm very positive yet. You know, just being back in circle there, I think will turn out to a long answer to the short question.
Okay. Any other questions for the board? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Count by nay, motion carried. Next on the agenda is streetlight request for District 8 for both conventional streetlights. Do them both at the same time. Pump House Road, Grandin, 74 Maple Estates Drive. Councilor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request that I've had from residents in my district, just to familiarize the council with each one of these. The Pump House Road in Granton is the pumping station. And what the circumstance is there is that there's a community mailbox just before you get to the pump house. And what happens is, in the wintertime in particular, is that it gets quite dark down there, and people that are picking up their mail don't feel comfortable with a light there, so they requested a street light go there. And the second one is down on Maple Estates Drive. It's a cul-de-sac. It's in front of Dr. Ray Wade's house. He called me and asked me street light attached to the existing poles. That's the circumstance regarding both those requests. If you want to move,
For a second.
I'll second it.
But moved and seconded. Any questions? Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Count by nay, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the cost share agreement for J Class Road. 2023-24 J Class Road priority. And by October 17th.
Okay, sure. So last year we submitted the sheet was included. These were New Road and Thorburn, Ash Street was Second Avenue, Park Lane, Saunders Road, Blackie Road, and the Ryan Road, Eddie's Lane. So from that list, the Saunders Road and Ash Street are being done this current fiscal. And those were the two that were selected. So it's a resubmission, if it's the wishes of the committee, of the remaining ones, or if there's additional ones to be added. Wishes would be, but I will. Say the name. The New Road was the first priority. Ash Street was second. It is being completed this year. Second Avenue is third. Park Lane was the fourth. Saunders Road was our fifth priority. It is being completed this year. Blackie Road, sixth, and Ryan Road, Eddie's Lane was seventh.
Second. Questions? If you would.
Can you explain the three house question policy?
So that's the old, prior to 90, whatever, if there were three homes on a basically private driveway, the province should take over and call them road. So that's how they classify it as a three.
That's still a three.
They won't do it at all today, since 92, 93, they stopped doing it. I think officially the service exchange, they stopped doing it. I think they actually stopped prior to.
Okay. Any further questions? Just a question for Brian. They have come back and say some of the girls are having.
I believe we submitted the list when we submitted the list last year. They came back on Park Lane and said that they did not believe that was a park order. And they've done that in the past. There was another road, I believe it was in Councillor Boyle's area. Loudon Road, they used to say to that one that we used to submit that on an annual basis, and they just kept coming back saying, we're never going to touch that under this program. But I believe they may have said that with our public last year.
You can also.
It's only Inc., right? There's lots of.
Okay, all those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
And by saying, motion carried. Are there any community announcements? Councilor Watt.
Funny this year, we'll have our 7-plant dinner again. In our fire department, it takes place August 14th, from 3 to 6, Sunday. Tickets are $25 each, and they go quickly, the tickets are at 70, just got 5.
Okay. Councilor Bullock.
Yeah, on District 9, the Sunday, 24th is Sunday, coming at 1 p.m. The Lodge Fire Hall. We're going to have the RCMP coming out to a lot of the residents who are really worked up with some of the speeds that people are doing up there. And yes, we all are, every councillor is, but we have a few roads out there that are really, really going faster than they should. Also, we were told today by the municipal reviews that the garbage and that should be dealt with by them too. So the dump sites and the people throwing them. So we're going to be doing all that on the SSA on Sunday, the 24th, the Sunday coming at 1 p.m. to Lodge Fire Hall.
Okay. Councilor Thompson.
Just, thank you, Mr. Chair. The announcement that the Warden made note of today in Glasgow, East River Valley Recreation was one of the recipients of the Canadian Communities Revitalization CCR. They received $35,000. Captain Mike Heckenrich was a community volunteer. I always say every community needs a Mike Heckenrich. He's instrumental in a lot of good work that's been going on up in Springville. The last number of years, he helped manage the revitalization of their Springville Church and Community Hall. That project was a $200,000 project. There was a grant, a council grant that was provided here for that. Today's announcement is extra special. At the same time that the announcement was happening, there was about 35 or 40 kids playing in Springville at the summer rec program. And when you tell the parents that there's going to be a new playground coming, they're really happy. They're excited. It's a great thing. The federal money of $35,000 was matched by the province through their recreation facilities development grant. They got 35. East River Valley got 35 from the province and 20 from council grants, plus some money that the community association has. They have $105,000 to go towards a natural accessible playground. It's because of people like Mike Heckenrich that we're able to get to this point. There's been a lot of work done in that field. There's a walking track, a resurfaced tennis court. There's a community hall there, a public washroom, which is not every outdoor space has a public washroom, but this place has a public washroom. And they got a beautiful, beautiful facility. Moving forward, it's a sustainable operation because not only does Mike down there mowing grass and painting and whatnot and breaking gravel and all that good stuff, but he hosts a bottle barn on his property that covers the costs of the operations. So to pay the gas for the mower, insurance, and the community's really responded in the last couple of years because they see the improvements that are going on in that facility. So his thing is how do you find a playground or a recreation park? He says one nickel at a time. And he's got a full paper barn full of returnables again, and it just keeps piling up. So he's like, this is a great day for Mike Heckovich. He's what every community needs. Thank you.
From Field.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two community announcements tonight. The first one is the Scottsburg Fire Department 53rd Annual Pork Chop Barbecue Fundraiser. And that's Wednesday, July 27th, 4 to 6:30. And this is pre-orders only. And the pickups at the Scottsburg Fire Hall, $15 adults. So you get a grade A pork chops, potato salad, roll, beverage, and ice cream. So make sure you pre-order on that. And the other one is the Caribou District Fire Department's having their annual lobster dinner on Saturday, August 6th. Pickup time is 1 p.m. and this is takeout only again, and pre-orders must be in before Thursday, August 4th at 7 p.m. Includes lobster roll, not a lobster roll, but a lobster and a roll, and salad, coleslaw, and homemade cake for dessert. So it might be a good idea to bring some cooler bags to transport the meals. There's going to be musical entertainment on site, so enjoy a piece of tradition. Two fire departments.
James Gordon Parker.
Kind of way it is with the lobster, I think you have to order them.
That would be Thursday the 4th, 7 p.m. I have a number here as well, if you'd like that.
Sure.
I just get rid of it. Let me see, just 1 second. Oh dear, hold on. No,
Facebook.
902-759-0686.
Okay, I just wanted to emphasize what Council Thompson just said, glad to see them get that money today, and it's always great to see our council grants here and reinforced by other money. But they have done a great job up there, and I know I'm working with a group in Salem that's trying to get started from nothing pretty near an old ball field again, and you know, they've been up to the Springfield and had a look, and as they said to me today, 10 years, it doesn't happen in a hurry. But they have, you know, they're now started, they have an organization, which they didn't have before. The old organization had drifted away when the ball teams disappeared. So they have a good organization now, and the very first thing you're gonna put in is accessible water. As soon as we get water and sewer, same. That's the first thing they said. No sense having a bunch of people here to get no water, accessible water. So anyway, I'm glad to see them started, and I'm glad to see the success that Springville's had with theirs, and hopefully we can follow. Thank you.
Happy work.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All I can say is Council McKee, I'm gonna give you back. Is that what you understand? So beware.
There's parts,
Last time London, she moved districts.
they actually sent part of District 3 as well.
Okay. Any further? No. So next is emergency resolutions. Emergency resolutions. Seeing none. Over. Everybody's right here. There.
Yes, that's.
Yeah.